Uh, Surviving a large-scale blast with minimal health effects would likely come down to, according to Dr. Lyman, the Union of Concerned Scientists guy, come down to what he calls luck of the draw. People close to the center of the blast would die. There's no question about that. And by the center of the blast, do you remember? Are you old enough to remember? I goddamn sure am old enough to remember this. I went through this shit. A lot of people my age or a little bit younger, a little bit older, went through this. Duck and cover. In our classrooms, in the hallways of our schools, what to do if we're in the backyard and a fucking flash of light goes off. What to do. Kids and people today don't have a clue. You oh my God. When I was a teenager, just about every building in Toledo had one of those atomic energy thingies, you know, the three triangles and the orange and black. And underneath it said shelter, and there would be arrows pointing down, and there would be concrete steps going down under department stores in downtown Toledo. And that's the way it was in New York, Chicago, Boston, Miami, LA, San Francisco. You know, every city had that. They're not there anymore. They're not there anymore. So people close to the center of the blast would die. The point I was trying to make, when you were a kid, when I was a kid, we had these, they had graphics that would show the blast center and how far out from the center of the blast people would die immediately, then how far out people would die from the pressure wave, and then how far out people would die from the initial rolling horror of the radiation, and then how far out people would die within, 2 days. That's where we got the expression back in the day of far out, man. But we don't have any of those anymore. In Molly's school, and I'm sure it's true if you have children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews, they are taught how to, quote, shelter in place if a fucking lunatic is roaming the street or roaming the school, killing people. But nuclear explosion? No. They don't know what to do. People close to the center of the blast would die, so any preventive measures would likely benefit those who were further away. Well, that makes sense. Dr. Lyman said, quote, "What we're really talking about is protecting yourself from the radioactive fallout that would disperse along the prevailing wind patterns from the blast." End quote. These sentences, these words are very nostalgic to me. This is the kind of shit we used to talk about when I was 12 years fucking old, 12, 13 years old. See, like most Americans, I'm sure you're the same way, when the big, bad, nasty ass old Cold War ended in, 1989 or whenever it was, 93, we all thought, well, that's it. War is over, if you want it. You know, how many times did we see John and Yoko's full-page ad in the New York Times that said that? War is over, if you want it. War's never been over. And probably because we don't want it. But it is like a blast, no pun intended, blast from the past to read stuff like this. Protecting yourself from the radioactive fallout that would disperse along the prevailing wind patterns from the blast. What's the prevailing wind patterns in your town? Oh my God. One of North Korea's most recent tests indicated that its intercontinental ballistic missiles could reach anywhere in the continental United States without a nuclear payload. With a nuclear payload, experts say, its range would be more restricted. But given the way these missiles are aimed, likely targets will be cities rather than specific military targets. Well, they learned from us. When we firebombed North Korea, we went for the civilian population centers. It was a form of massive terrorism. We went for the dams and the bridges and the irrigation systems too. But we went for the population. When we firebombed Japan, we went for the population centers like Tokyo. When we firebombed Germany, we went for cities like Dresden. When the Germans launched the V-1 and V-2 rockets, they went for population centers like London. You know, this is no bullshit. You know, when you're engaged in something like this kind of war, you don't give a fuck about some military establishment like Parris Island, South Carolina. You want Midtown Manhattan. You want to wipe out 12 million people with one goddamn bomb. That's what you want to do. It's called shock and awe. We've used it before, only not with nuclear weapons. We used it on Iraq. And the world took note, which is what Cheney and Bush wanted the world to do. Look what we can do. Well, since the world knows what we can do, most countries started scrambling like fucking crazy people to get their own nuclear weapons because the United States could do that to us. So cities will be the targets rather than not cities. Let's see now. Newsweek says the U.S. does have better software programs than it once did for atmospheric modeling, which could help show where nuclear fallout might travel. Have you gotten yours yet? I haven't gotten mine. However, Dr. Lyman said, though the software can provide real-time data, that information has to be disseminated, and it does take input as well. So if your city has just been annihilated by a nuclear blast and you're not dead yet, you're down in the basement, your kids are screaming, your husband is panicked, and you're sitting there in front of your telescreen, your computer, trying to get the real-time prevailing wind patterns. Even new technology won't help if a blast cripples a government's ability to collect data about current weather conditions to tell people what the software predicts. Of course, does anyone really think that your computer is going to be online after a nuclear goddamn bomb hits in the middle of your city? Huh? Really? The best preparation, Dr. Lyman says, of course, would be to ensure that there's no blast at all, which is what the United States and the Soviet Union, in their mutual madness, came to agree to. If you nuke me, I'm going to nuke you. And then all of us will fall down dead. So, since we have mutual assured destruction here, let's just not bomb each other. I mean, we can do other shit. We can have proxy wars. We can have those all over the place. Lebanon, Vietnam, the Philippines, Central America. You know, we have, lots of people will die, but it'll be localized death. Lyman added, quote, people shouldn't be given the idea that the political direction we're going in can be mitigated by better preparation. There is no way to prepare, unless you're one of these survivalists who thinks that living down in a hole that used to contain one of those great big goddamn ICBM missiles out in Montana or Kansas or Nebraska, you know, they turned them into the government sold them off, and the survivalists bought them and stocked them with dried food and shit. And yeah, they're going to survive. They got all their guns and shit, you know, and all the stuff down there. They're going to survive. No, the fuck they aren't. Unless they want to stay in the hole forever. And even then, eventually the radiation will get you. It's going to get you. People shouldn't be given the idea that the political direction we're going in can be mitigated by better preparation. That means, of course, in the direction Trump is taking the whole fucking world, there's no way to prepare to survive a nuclear exchange. Lyman adds, no matter who's in the White House, the top priority has to be working to prevent that possibility. My button's bigger than yours, little rocket man. You want to fuck with me? I got more nuclear shit than you do. Huh? Little rocket man? That's our leadership. I'm not making this shit up. You know, that's our leadership. And Lyman added, of course, the line that I became familiar with as a young teenager. Here's the line, quote, "It would be a mistake to think that we could survive such an exchange with acceptable consequences." Don't forget, it's, when is it? They're going to be live streaming this. What did I say, Kathy? Okay, where's the goddamn thing? Live streaming it. What, have I lost it? Hold on. Oh, here it is. January 16th. It'll be streamed live at the CDC's website. No, we're too busy running out to buy Fire and Fury. You know, that book by Michael Wolff, I'm glad it's out there. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad it's out there because there's enough evidence in that book to show how crazy, how lunatic these sons of bitches are, especially Trump. But just because Michael Wolff was able to observe and put this stuff together, and he had about 200 hours of interviews, and as far as, oh, it's not true, it's not true. Oh, fuck you, Donald Trump. It's every word is true. And the kicker is Michael Wolff has the tapes. He recorded a lot of these. I don't know if he recorded Trump, but he recorded all the people that he said told him things like Trump is an asshole, he's a moron, he doesn't read, he can't think, he's like a fucking child. Satisfy me now. I just pissed my diaper. Change it. I have to go poopy. Everybody stop so I can go poopy.